Location: a dark, moonlit forest nestled deep in an ancient galaxy, in a forgotten corner of the universe. Beyond the reach of star maps and known space, a moon draped in eternal twilight orbited a dying planet. Here, the whispers of the Galactic Empire had not yet reached, and the people lived in peace, isolated from the chaos of the galaxy. But this tranquility was shattered one fateful night when the Empire came, taking everything in its wake. Rhea and Liz stood beneath the eerie glow of their moon's twin moons. The wind howled, carrying with it the scent of the dense forest that once sheltered their village. Their mother, a brilliant scientist in the heart of their family, had been taken, not in an assault or a raid, but in the dead of night, vanished without a trace. The siblings were left with nothing but grief and anger. The Galactic Empire, with its terrifying presence, had stolen the one person who meant everything to them. The Empire had a reputation for terror, and while they operated under the guise of order, they were anything but just. Rumors ran rampant about the Empire's twisted experiments and their thirst for ultimate power. Power that could change the very fabric of reality. But what had they taken their mother for? The siblings could not afford to wait. They had heard stories, old, forbidden tales that few dared to believe. Legend spoke of the Baba Yaga, an ancient entity known across the stars as the Witch of the Void. She was said to be older than time itself, with power that could transcend the boundaries of the universe. There were those who claimed she could shape the very essence of space and time, while others said she had the power to undo what had been done, to reverse the forces that controlled the galaxy. The stories painted her as a force of nature, a being of incredible strength, but also one of great darkness. Her name was spoken in whispers, feared by all who knew the truth. Yet, in their hearts, Rhea and Liz knew that only one being could help them retrieve their mother from the grasp of the Galactic Empire. But finding her would be no easy task. No one knew where she resided, only that she existed beyond the known worlds, beyond the star systems mapped by the Empire. Desperation led the siblings to make a choice that would shape their fate. They would seek out the Baba Yaga, for she was their only hope. But they also knew the cost could be far greater than they ever imagined. They needed to find the Baba Yaga's lair, hidden in the farthest reaches of space, a place so remote that few had ever returned from it. "Do you think she'll help us?" Liz asked, his voice barely above a whisper. His hands trembled as he gripped the artifact their mother had left behind, a relic that was said to hold the key to finding the Baba Yaga. Rhea's eyes were filled with a mixture of sorrow and determination. "We have no other choice." And so, with the stars as their only guide, they set off into the unknown, leaving behind the ruins of their home, the ghosts of their past, and their only hope, that the Baba Yaga would answer their call. The journey ahead would be perilous, and the fate of the galaxy rested in their hands. The siblings' journey took them across the forgotten reaches of the galaxy, past stellar nurseries and dying stars. Their ship, an old vessel inherited from their mother, groaned and hummed as they entered a vast stretch of space known only as the void between worlds. Here, the stars seemed distant and faint, their light barely piercing the thick darkness of the expanse. It was a place where few ships ventured and fewer still returned. They navigated through strange, shattered planets, each one bearing the scars of forgotten battles. Rhea studied the ancient star maps her mother had left behind, using them to guide their course. But the closer they got to the coordinates, the more the fabric of space itself seemed to warp, twisting and folding in on itself like a living organism. The last coordinates led them to a dark, desolate asteroid field. Amidst the wreckage of long-forgotten ships and ancient debris, they found a hidden entrance to the Baba Yaga's lair. It was not a place anyone would choose to visit. The asteroid was surrounded by a swirling storm of cosmic energy, a force that defied the laws of physics. The air around them crackled with an electric charge, and the view outside their ship windows was nothing but an endless void, pulsating with dark energy. Their ship slowed as they approached a large, ancient structure carved into the very heart of the asteroid. It looked like a fortress, but not one built by any known civilization. It seemed to be alive, its walls shifting and breathing like some organic entity. As they landed, the ship's lights flickered and dimmed, as if even the vessel itself was nervous about entering the lair of the Baba Yaga. The moment the doors to the ship opened, the air around them thickened, the temperature dropped, and the shadows seemed to stretch and twist unnaturally. They were no longer alone. Step forward. A voice called from the darkness. The voice was ancient, low, and filled with an unsettling authority. Rhea and Liz looked at each other before stepping out of the ship, their feet crunching against the ground made of strange black stone. The shadows deepened as they walked forward, until they reached a towering figure standing at the entrance of the fortress. It was her, Baba Yaga. The legend was true. The figure before them was a being that defied all logic. She was cloaked in armor that seemed to be woven from the bones of her past enemies, the armor itself glistening with a strange, ethereal glow. Her eyes were like two burning stars, piercing through the darkness with an unsettling focus. Her face was obscured by a veil, but the air around her vibrated with power. Behind her, a strange contraption hovered. Not a traditional broom, but a mechanical vehicle that seemed to defy all known physics. It was a vessel capable of bending time and space, an object of unimaginable power. You come seeking me, but do you understand the price? Baba Yaga's voice echoed, vibrating in their bones. Her gaze held them, and Rhea felt a chill run down her spine. Despite the overwhelming power radiating from her, there was something deeply ancient and wise in her eyes, a force that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Rhea stepped forward first, her voice trembling but determined. We need your help. The Empire, they took our mother. We have to save her. Liz, who had remained silent up until now, held out the ancient artifact they had carried all this way. The relic, once belonging to their mother, hummed with a strange energy, an energy that seemed to call to the Baba Yaga. The Baba Yaga's eyes shifted to the artifact. A faint smile, unsettling in its darkness, crept across her face. The artifact, she whispered, her voice like a dark lullaby. This relic holds the key to finding the threads of fate that tie your mother to the Empire. But be warned, she continued, her voice growing cold. The price of my help is not what you think. What you seek is within your grasp, but remember, to alter the course of fate is to invite chaos. Rhea and Liz exchanged a look. They had come this far, and they had no choice but to trust her. Without hesitation, Rhea nodded. We'll do whatever it takes. Baba Yaga raised her hand, and with a flick of her wrist, the air around them shimmered. A portal, like a crack in the fabric of reality itself, appeared before them. The sight was dizzying, a swirl of light and shadow, of stars being born and dying in an instant. Then step forward, she said, her voice now echoing with an undeniable command. You seek your mother, but what you find may not be what you expect. The siblings stepped toward the portal, knowing that there was no turning back. As they passed through the portal, the world around them seemed to disintegrate, replaced by an overwhelming force of darkness. In the blink of an eye, they found themselves standing in the heart of the Galactic Empire, on a dark and foreboding battlefield, where the boundaries of time and space had already begun to unravel. The Baba Yaga's warning echoed in their minds. What you seek may not be what you expect. The moment they passed through Baba Yaga's portal, the air around them turned thick with tension. The endless darkness that surrounded them began to clear, revealing a massive, ominous fortress suspended in space. The structure was like a nightmare made real, towering spires of black metal twisted upward, piercing the void of space, with flickering lights emanating from within, casting long shadows across the crumbling landscape below. The siblings stood at the entrance of the fortress, their breath caught in their throats. They could feel the overwhelming presence of the Galactic Empire, even from this distance. It was as though the very air here was tainted by its influence, a constant, suffocating reminder of the Empire's reach in the darkness that consumed everything in its path. Liz gripped the artifact tightly, his knuckles white from the pressure. This is it, he whispered. This is where they're keeping her. Rhea nodded, her eyes scanning the surroundings. The fortress loomed ahead like an impenetrable wall, but she knew that no matter how powerful the Empire was, they had to find a way inside. They couldn't afford to waste time. As they approached the entrance, a low hum filled the air, and the ground beneath them trembled. The colossal gates of the fortress began to open slowly, revealing an army of stormtroopers, the soldiers of the Galactic Empire, clad in dark armor that gleamed menacingly under the pale lights of the structure. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, but their presence was a clear threat. Before the siblings could react, the Baba Yaga's voice rang out in their minds. Asterisk, the shadows of the Empire cannot stand against you. Move swiftly. Move with purpose. Asterisk, with that, the siblings steeled themselves, walking forward with determination. As they entered the fortress, the air grew colder, and the dim lights cast eerie shadows on the walls. The sounds of marching boots and mechanical clanking echoed through the hallways, and the atmosphere was filled with a sense of overwhelming control. This place was designed to break the will of anyone who entered it. But Rhea and Liz had come here for one reason, to find their mother. They made their way deeper into the heart of the fortress, evading patrols and using the relic to guide them. The artifact pulsed with energy, reacting to something deeper within the walls of the fortress. It led them down narrow corridors, past security checkpoints, and into the most secretive depths of the Empire's stronghold. Finally, they arrived at the central chamber, a massive, darkened room at the heart of the fortress, surrounded by hundreds of high-tech consoles and blinking lights. At the center, suspended in a strange, glowing energy field, was their mother, but she was not the person they remembered. Her once vibrant eyes were now hollow, and her body appeared frail, like a puppet dangling in a twisted web of wires and tubes. Her consciousness was still there, but it had been altered, manipulated, and controlled. The Empire had done more than just imprison her. They had turned her into a living battery, an energy source that powered something far more sinister than they could have imagined. What had they done to her? Liz whispered, his voice shaking with disbelief and anger. Rhea felt a surge of rage building in her chest, but she knew they had to act fast. The longer they waited, the more their mother would be consumed by whatever dark force the Empire had tethered her to. She turned to Liz, her voice resolute. We need to shut this down now. But as they moved toward the energy field, a sudden, deafening alarm blared across the fortress, and the walls trembled with the arrival of reinforcements. The siblings had been discovered. I see you've made it this far. A voice echoed from the shadows. A tall figure emerged from the darkness. His uniform was adorned with the insignia of the Empire's highest rank. He was the one they had feared, the one who had orchestrated their mother's capture, the Grand Inquisitor. His eyes were cold and calculating, and as he surveyed the siblings he smiled, but it was not a comforting smile. It was the smile of a predator who had cornered his prey. You shouldn't have come here, the Grand Inquisitor said. Your mother is now a part of something greater than you can comprehend. She will be the key to the Empire's ultimate weapon. No one can stop us. Rhea's heart pounded as she stared at the Grand Inquisitor, her mind racing. They had no backup, no allies. The odds were against them, and yet she felt an overwhelming sense of determination. They had come this far, and they would not leave without her. With a glance at Liz, she stepped forward, the relic pulsing brightly in her hand. You're wrong, she said firmly. We're not leaving without her. The Empire's reign ends here. Before the Grand Inquisitor could react, the relic in Rhea's hand began to glow with a blinding light. The energy field surrounding their mother pulsed and crackled, and for a brief moment, the fortress seemed to tremble as if the very foundations of the Empire were shaking. The force of the relic's power seemed to fight against the Empire's hold on the chamber. The Grand Inquisitor's face twisted in frustration. Foolish children, he spat. You have no idea what you're meddling with. But it was too late. The power of the relic, combined with the Baba Yaga's influence, was too much. The energy field surrounding their mother flickered and shattered, sending shock waves through the room. As the light dimmed, the siblings rushed to their mother's side, releasing her from the Empire's grasp. But just as they thought victory was within reach, the Grand Inquisitor raised his hand, and the walls of the chamber trembled. The entire fortress seemed to come alive, its systems going into full lockdown mode. We're not done yet, the Grand Inquisitor hissed, and with that, the final battle for their mother's freedom began. The moment the energy field collapsed, Rhea and Liz felt the weight of their actions. The force of the explosion sent shock waves through the fortress, but they managed to pull their mother from the containment device. She was weak, barely conscious, but alive. They had done it. They had freed her from the Empire's control. Or so they thought. But victory was fleeting. The Grand Inquisitor's cold, unyielding voice pierced through the chaos. You think this is over? You've only begun to understand the price of meddling with forces beyond your control. His words reverberated through the collapsing chamber as the siblings helped their mother to her feet. The fortress was in turmoil, the walls shifting and groaning as alarms blared across the halls. There was no time to waste. We need to leave now. Rhea shouted, pulling her mother toward the exit. But before they could make it out, the space around them began to warp. The ground trembled, and the walls distorted, as if the very fabric of reality itself was coming undone. Liz grabbed Rhea's arm. What's happening? Rhea's eyes widened in horror. It's the weapon. The Empire's weapon. They've been manipulating reality itself. It's collapsing. Suddenly, the air around them began to crackle with an overwhelming energy, a force unlike anything they had felt before. From deep within the fortress, the Grand Inquisitor's laughter echoed. You cannot escape fate. You will see the true cost of your interference. The siblings turned to face their mother, whose eyes had begun to glow faintly, a strange energy now coursing through her body. The relic they carried with them had resonated with her, awakening something deep within her, a power that had been dormant, a power that had been harnessed by the Empire, and one that now sought to claim her once more. This is not her, Liz whispered, his voice trembling. She's not herself. Rhea's heart sank. The Empire had done something far worse than they imagined. They had infused their mother with a piece of the weapon, a force capable of bending time, space, and even life itself. The moment they had broken the energy field, the weapon had latched onto her, pulling her back into its thrall. No! Rhea shouted, as her mother's body convulsed with the overwhelming energy. She could see the struggle in her eyes, the fight for control. The siblings knew that they had to make a choice: destroy the weapon and lose their mother, or let the weapon live and risk losing their entire galaxy. In that moment, the Baba Yaga's voice echoed again, but this time it was not in their minds. The portal she had created appeared in front of them, its swirling energies beckoning them. Asterisk, the cost is greater than you realize. Destroy the weapon, and you destroy her, but allow the weapon to live, and the galaxy will fall. Asterisk, the siblings knew the truth. There was no simple solution. The weapon was too powerful to simply leave unchecked, and their mother, the very source of its energy, could not be allowed to remain a puppet to its will. But there was a deeper, darker truth as well. To destroy the weapon would mean destroying the last piece of their mother. The power that had been fused with her was too strong, too entwined with her very being. She was the key to stopping the weapon, but at what cost? Rhea's eyes welled with tears. We can't lose her again. Liz shook his head, a look of determination crossing his face. We don't have a choice. The galaxy, our mother, we have to save both. With no more word between them, Rhea reached for the relic, the artifact that had guided them all the way here. It pulsed with energy, the same energy that had connected them to Baba Yaga. The siblings understood, in that final moment, that they would need to make the ultimate sacrifice. Together, they placed the relic over their mother's chest. Her body jerked with one final, painful tremor, and the strange energy coursing through her flared to life, reaching out, threatening to tear the galaxy apart. But the relic absorbed the power, the energy pouring into it like a dark river, overwhelming everything in its path. With a final, heart-wrenching scream, Rhea and Liz unleashed the full power of the relic. A blinding flash consumed the room, and the very fabric of reality seemed to collapse in on itself. The ground shook violently as the weapon's energy was shattered. The pieces scattered into nothingness. The aftermath was silent, save for the distant hum of the collapsing fortress. The siblings stood there, staring at their mother's now lifeless body. The relic had drained her the power that the Empire had infused into her, but in doing so, it had consumed her life force. Rhea collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she cradled her mother's body. Liz stood beside her, his face twisted in anguish. We've lost her. But as they mourned, a strange, ethereal voice filled the room, soft and familiar. Asterisk, you've done it. Asterisk, it was Baba Yaga. Her voice was distant, yet comforting, resonating through the empty space. Asterisk, the balance has been restored. But remember, every action has a cost. The universe is vast, and your path is not yet complete. You have freed your mother, but now you must live with the consequences of your choices. Asterisk, Rhea and Liz stood in silence, the weight of their sacrifice heavy on their shoulders. The galaxy had been saved, but at what cost? They had lost their mother, and yet they knew they had done the right thing. As the remains of the fortress crumbled around them, the siblings turned away from the wreckage. The Baba Yaga had fulfilled her promise, but the true price of power, the price of choice, had only just begun to reveal itself. With heavy hearts, they stepped into the unknown, knowing that the universe, for better or worse, had forever been changed.